Fantastic opening remarks from you both. Thank you for that. Now let's get into the meat of it. We're going to start with our first topic. It is asset comparisons. Michael, I'll begin with you. We'll kick things off here. It's been said that an ideal store of value will have these 8 attributes. It's durable, portable, fungible, verifiable, divisible, scarce. It has an established history, and it's censorship resistant. So my question to you is, when you're doing an asset comparison of Bitcoin versus gold, how do you make the case for Bitcoin as the better asset? You'll have 5 minutes of uninterrupted time, and Frank will have a 1-minute rebuttal.
Okay. If we think about the elements that drive humanity forward, if we think of it from an engineer's point of view, you've got stone, you've got iron, you've got concrete, you've got steel, you've got aluminum, you've got silicon. You can't build a computer without silicon. You can't build a skyscraper without steel. You're not going to survive if you don't pick the right element. Crypto is the steel of the 21st century financial economy. An engineer would say you have to choose wisely. There's a right answer, there's a wrong answer. So gold is element 79. It's an ideal ornamental metal. It's indestructible, malleable, it's attractive. We love these things. It makes great jewelry, it makes a great ornament. It's just not a perfect monetary asset because you can inflate gold, you can confiscate gold. It's immobile, it's not easily divisible, and you can counterfeit it. It shows up in the economy in a heterogeneous fashion. Lots of different types of gold coins, lots of different types of gold bars, lots of different types of gold jewelry. And the paper gold itself is sometimes trading at 100 to 1 versus the underlying physical gold, and there's no trusted protocol to guarantee the integrity or the synchronicity between paper gold and actual gold. If we compare that to Bitcoin, Bitcoin is not just an asset, it's a network and it's protocol. People would say it's the world's first global self-settled real-time clearing bearer instrument. It is all those things you mentioned. It's decentralized, permissionless, global, immutable, scarce, auditable, instantly transferable, not seizable, highly divisible, mostly everything that gold can't do. The asset itself, secure, easily divisible. It's deflationary. People might lose some Bitcoin. They're never going to add more than 21 million. You can transfer it around the planet. It's transparent to everybody running a node. You can authenticate it instantly from a $100 smartphone. That's makes it the perfected monetary asset of the human race. We've never actually had an asset that clean. It's synthetic gold without the defects of monetary gold. Now, the network itself, it's global, it's open. Anybody can run a security node or a validating node on the network. It's empowering to billions and billions of people. It's vital because it's being continuously upgraded in the software layer and the hardware layer, and it's viral. It's spreading at a rapid rate. Companies, countries, individuals are adopting this, and that makes it, as Nicholas Leb would say, anti-fragile. It just keeps getting better. The protocol is the third element of the asset, which makes Bitcoin superior. And what's special about that is it's a protocol for synchronizing financial applications with integrity to the underlying Bitcoin asset. It's been adopted built into Square. It was built into PayPal. And what does that mean? Well, that means that Bitcoin applications, Bitcoin is harder, it's smarter, it's faster, and it's stronger than the gold that came before it. Harder meaning gold has a half-life of 30 years. You make 2% more every year. Bitcoin has a half-life of forever. It's effectively immortal, and it's organically evolving. It's only going to be better in 100 years than it is now. It's smarter because the applications running on Bitcoin are driven by modern software and modern CPUs and modern servers. They keep getting smarter and faster with Moore's law. You can make 100 million calculations a second around the world across hundreds of thousands of different servers on Bitcoin applications. You can't do that with gold. It's faster. You can do billions of transactions at the speed of light on these applications. You can run them 24/7, 365. It's stronger. You can channel high frequency energy. I could flash 10,000 loans for 3 days each across 100 jurisdictions between 10,000 different companies and fetch them back with laser-like precision. So in short, Bitcoin, it's more than just a monetary network. It's a trust network allowing millions of applications to serve billions of people. And it's going to accelerate global commerce in the 21st century. And it's critical for allowing for safe and efficient operations in cyberspace. That's why the asset is superior to gold.
Thank you, Michael. Frank, you'll now have a 1-minute rebuttal to that. Your time begins now.
Yeah, thank you. Michael, you know, it is a great technology, and I'll give you that. And I'm not going to argue the technology and how innovative it is and all the things that you say that it does. But so far, it's completely unproven that this is going to be effective as a payment method. It's far too slow, it's too volatile, and it has no history. So I don't think that, I don't see a way where it's going to be a method of payment. So the ability to transfer Bitcoin around the world at the speed of light, as you like to talk about, is, you know, what's the point if the only thing you have to hang your hat on is store of value? What you say about gold, paper gold and physical gold is true. I prefer physical gold. I stay away from the gold ETFs for many, many reasons. I like my gold to have no counterparty risks, much like Bitcoin doesn't. As far as you claiming that it's secure, I will debate you on that. I don't think it's as secure as you like to make it believe, especially if it becomes a threat.
Thank you, Frank. I will toss the question now to you, Frank. Same topic, asset comparison. When you're doing the asset comparisons of gold versus Bitcoin, make the case of why you think gold wins here and under which conditions it performs better than Bitcoin.
Okay, so listen, I'll give the 1-minute commercial here that everybody's heard before. Gold is eternal, and it's almost indestructible. The gold that you may be wearing in your jewelry today might have been a piece of jewelry 2,000 years ago. It has been deeply woven into the cultural fabric around the world and into the global monetary system. And if you believe you're about to dislodge gold in places like India and China, which are the world's largest buyers of gold, and where it's deeply ingrained in the culture, I think you don't know a lot about India and China. So in terms of its status as money, listen, I'm sure if the US could roll back the clock, they would probably do away with gold, because the US relies on its status as having the premier reserve currency, and it abuses that status to achieve its goals by, again, printing lots and lots of money. I can't see how Bitcoin is going to be recognized as money in every country in the world in the way that gold is. Its stability as a store of value is vital to managing the central bank reserve currencies, and it's viewed as protection against other fiat currencies. Central banks own 33,000 tons of gold, which is 20% of all the gold ever mined, and they're furiously buying it year after year after year. And there's a reason for it. And I can't say the same for Bitcoin. It's not owned by any of the central banks. It's extremely unlikely it ever will be. And I think Bitcoin makes a much easier target than gold if it becomes a threat. And the central banks are never going to destroy gold. It'd be akin to shooting themselves in the foot. Bitcoin they have no allegiance to, so they can go after that in spades. And gold, one of the other misconceptions, and I think where people get mixed up with the Bitcoin comparison, is that gold is not designed to moonshot through the roof like some tech darling. It's designed as a store of value against inflation, the devaluation of currencies, and sharp equity downturns. It's been tested time and time again throughout history. Bitcoin has never been tested, especially in a financial crisis, because Bitcoin was introduced after the 2008 crisis. In the meantime, gold has doubled since then. Gold benefits in times of crisis and in certain times of economic expansion because of its dual purpose of use in jewelry and industry. If, God forbid, there were ever a war, I would prefer to have my money stored in gold, which is going to be safe from cyber attacks on both the internet and the power grids. Now, to be fair, and I think also that any time that there's a currency crisis, and this is what I'm afraid of, people will always flee to gold. It happens every time. So, but to be fair, I think it's good to point out that central banks do try and manipulate, in my opinion, they try and manipulate and manage the gold price, because the gold price is, in a sense, the canary in the coal mine as to a nation's fiscal health. So any spike in the gold price, yeah, the central banks will try and manage that. But they're never going to try and kill its value because, again, they'd be shooting themselves in the foot. They don't, it's a necessary evil. The US alone, 77% of its reserves, foreign reserves, are in gold. That's 4% of all the gold in the world. And China is only declared 3%, but again, they're the largest producers of gold in the world and the largest importers of gold in the world, and they're accumulating at a very rapid rate, and no one really believes that what they've declared is truly what they own. They come out every couple of years and surprise the market with increased reserves in gold. But here's the thing, it's respect with the US dollar that I have a real problem with Michael's approach to promoting Bitcoin, because he tries to have it both ways. On the one hand, he is panicking people into buying Bitcoin as a protection against this incredible M2 money growth, which he calculates at 20% a year and going forever at 20% a year. If he's right, and I don't disagree that that's the direction the dollar is going in terms of money growth, that would create severe problems for the US dollar. It would obviously devalue the dollar over time because you would bring in a lot of inflation. And so, on the other hand, he claims that Bitcoin is not a threat to the US dollar. And I think in that sense, he's talking out of both sides of his mouth. And I can only assume that the reason is he doesn't want to draw the ire or the attention of the US government because it's easier to go after gold. The authorities are never going to come to gold's defense. And actually, in a way, he may be doing them a favor by disparaging gold. But again, he can't have it both ways. You can't make that claim that Bitcoin is going to go to the moon and subsume all the value of every asset class and not be a threat to the US dollar. And I think he's probably a bit late because now it's squarely on the radar of a lot of the policymakers, a lot of the pundits, and they're talking about the threat to the US dollar by Bitcoin. And it's going to be monitored very closely as the asset value goes up in price. Bitcoin
just some wrapping comments, Frank.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so listen, there's a lot to be said about the way that Bitcoin is being pitched as a decentralized currency, but it's idealistic to think that the government's going to allow that kind of anarchy. I'm a lover of history and politics. I'm actually very deeply immersed in geopolitics. And I come from the Machiavellian school of thought when it comes to politics and power. And I'm a realist, and you may want things to be a certain way, but you have to see the ways things truly are. And anarchism has never worked throughout history.
Thank you,
and
Frank.
You just have to look. Okay, I've got so much more to say about this.
Well, you'll get into it. But I gotta give Michael, because you said a lot of big statements there, and I have to give Michael his 1 minute rebuttal. So, Michael, please.
Well, Frank says Bitcoin's not an effective payment network, method. But the point really is PayPal and Square and Venmo are providing billion transaction, instant speed of light throughput on top of Bitcoin's network. And so the payments are going to come from the application layer, the layer 2 or the Lightning network. Frank says it's not as secure as I think. Well, I think crypto keys, or holding the keys to a cryptocurrency, is the highest property right that the human race has ever invented to date. We can't have stronger property rights than holding $100 million with password keys in your head or multi-signature keys. Everything else is a weaker property right. I think that the way the world's going to end up, everybody's going to have a selection of currencies in their mobile wallet and assets in their mobile wallet. And they're going to be the top 10 currencies. The dollar will be the king currency, and they're going to use it as a medium of exchange and instant payment on the network. And then there'll be strong assets. The strongest will be Bitcoin. People will have other assets. And Bitcoin doesn't have to be a currency to be successful. The world, and as long as there are successful countries, they will maintain their currency. I think the losers will be the weak assets and the weak currencies. And this is not a currency war with Bitcoin. This is an asset war. And that's why considering whether I want to put my money in gold or Bitcoin is appropriate.
Thank you, Michael. We're going to move on to the